Hello, hello, welcome, welcome, welcome. Let's get something a little different here, like so you can see me. There we go. Almost, almost. There it is. No, not quite. Almost. Here we go. Me. Let me show you me. Half me. All right. Hey, y'all. Welcome to Live. I am excited to be with you. It's a new era for me of offering some live shows for y'all. I am Daniel Aaron coming to you live or by rebroadcast, if that's where it's at for you, from Maui, Hawaii. And if you are there now with me live, please chime in. Hello, hello. Where are you from? Now, if you're tuning in by rebroadcast, you didn't miss it because I'm going to give you some amazing stuff today about, wow, a phenomenal topic that can be life changing, really valuable for you. Not only what I share with you in this piece today, but also what you can get as you apply it in your life. And that particularly the topic today is a book, but it's more than a book. It's a being, it's a movement, it's an energy, and it's called the Ultimate Coach. So I'll say more about that in a moment, though. If you are coming to this by rebroadcast, check it out. I will be offering more and more lives coming up at least once a week for the next while. And I would love, most of all, for it to be useful, fun, yes, entertaining, but most of all, empowering for you. So, show you what I mean a little bit here. This is, well, it's more than just a tagline for me. Like my aim, my mission is to help you to make your life a masterpiece, right? And that might sound like a little bit of a weird thing. Kind of goes along the lines of the great saying that was an interviewer asked Mahatma Gandhi, "What message do you have for the people?" His message, he said, is my life is my message. And I know, because I've experienced it and I've worked with so many people. You have the capacity, the capability to feel the same way, for your life to be vibrant, thriving, amazing, filled with passion, purpose, profit. All of it counts. So, again, if you are live, feel free to chime in at any point. I'll give you the caveat, though. I am not a master of, what do you call it? Not a master of multitasking. Case in point, as I was trying to do it just then, so that I can get the comment section up here. But it is here, so I will show you what I mean. All right, I put a little comment in there, and whatever platform you're on, you should see that. Now, what I will do through this live is I'm going to share some super valuable and important stuff with you about the Ultimate Coach. And I will pause at times, not being so into multitasking. I'm not going to try and speak with you and share and also watch the comments moment by moment. However, I will pause at times and see what I missed in the comments. I will pause and say, what do you think? What do you feel? What questions do you have? So please do use the comments and chime in so we can make this as useful and value for you. Now, let's go on a little bit here with the what this is all about, this particular live, right? And switch our screen a little bit, right? My mission, my job is to help you make your life a masterpiece. This particular episode, all about coming from the title, the official title of the book is The Ultimate Coach. In the community around it, we call it the Book of Being, a book of being. And a couple worthy things to know. Okay, on the surface, The Ultimate Coach is a book. It's on the surface about a guy by the name of Steve Hardison. Worth noting, he didn't want to write a book. He didn't want a book written about him. He's not big on the limelight. He's more of a behind the scenes, work with his clients kind of guy. And won't tell the whole story now. It's a pretty cool story, though, of how this book actually came to be, how one of his clients felt a strong prompting, maybe a divine prompting, to enlist Steve's, if not cooperation, permission to create it. And part of why Steve didn't want a book is because his belief, like the Zen saying says, if you can't say the truth, if you say it, it's not the truth. In the same way, Steve, his mission is about being, understanding the fundamental cause of everything in our life is who we are being. I'll say more about that in a moment. So he didn't feel like that could be put into a book. Understandable. Miraculous thing, though, as it came about, Alan B. Thompson interviewed a whole bunch of Steve's associates, clients, teachers, friends, family. Big stack of interviews. Gave that to Steve's wife, Amy Hardison, who, by the way, was a guest on my live video show podcast recently. If you haven't seen that episode, highly recommend it. You can go to my website for that. I'll put in the comments here. And that is that. Why we got something showing up in a funny way? That is called the Art of Vibrant Living show. And if you look under past shows, you can find the show with Amy, phenomenal show. So Amy took all of these interviews and she turned it into a book. Long story of how that came to be over 18 months. And the thing is, y'all, it's more than a book. Almost hard to explain, really. There's something that's kind of mystical about that to me, because how is it that it's more than a book? Here's my experience, just to give you a little bit of context for this, right? I, over the last couple of years, had been venturing off into some what you could call opportunistic businesses. And so I had not been focusing on my author platform coaching. And when I got a bit of a nudge from the divine some months ago that said, hey, only focus on what your purpose is. So feeling that clarity, as if God shook me by the shoulders, I said, okay, I'm going back to coaching. I didn't want to go back to where I was. I wanted to go deeper, further, be better at serving my clients. So I said, all right, let's go back to fundamentals. In fact, let me figure out how I can go deeper, serve better. So I started doing some more reading and study, went back to some of my own training, came across some books by Steve Chandler. Steve Chandler, in his books, great, highly recommend, talks about his coach, referred to him very reverently, called him the ultimate coach. So I thought, being the consummate learner I am, I thought, cool, I want to check this guy out. Sounds really interesting. I had not got around to it yet. And you know how sometimes divine interventions come in strange ways? Well, in this case, it indeed was a strange one. It was the Amazon algorithm, because I love reading. I love reading with my Kindle. One day popped up in front of me, the ultimate coach. And I said, well, yes, Amazon, you're right. As it turns out, I am interested in that book. Click, bought it, started reading it. And here's where it gets trippy. I started reading this book, and within a few chapters, I could feel, this might sound weird, but I could feel like energy moving in me. I could feel shifts in my awareness, insights. Things were changing for me. And I could tell a whole hour-long story about some of what changed, but I'll just tell you two big pieces there. What happened for me in that process was, well, one, I started seeing parallels in my own life and Steve's life. And through that, and realizing what an extraordinary coach he is, right? And surface level attention grabbing things that are noteworthy, to work with Steve long-term, $200,000 with a waiting list. And even better, even more important, a big list of client testimonials, success stories, tributes, right? So one of the things that occurred to me is, wow, some of the things that I'm really good at, like naturally good at, and things that I've developed, like, for instance, my ability to communicate, my ability to listen, my desire to serve, my heart in that, my love of learning. I started seeing, well, these are things that Steve does, and that's part of what makes him extraordinary as a coach. So I started seeing myself differently. And started seeing coaching differently. Now, one of my great advantages years ago when I started training people running transformational events is I didn't know what I couldn't do, right? In other words, I didn't have imposed limitations from some business program or school saying, this is what you do, this is what you don't do. However, when I formally went into coaching and did trainings in coaching, somehow I adopted limitations, as in, this is what you do, this is what you don't do, this is how it works. And I felt a bit limited in what I could do and how I could help people with that. So even though certainly I love coaching and have since I've been doing it informally and formally, there was a little bit of mixed feeling in me. And so learning about the way Steve works with people, it blew up my old paradigms and limitations around coaching and immediately allowed me to serve better, go deeper, and feel even more passion and enthusiasm about coaching. So this was, and now mind you, this is happening from me reading a book, and some synchronicities were happening in my life. All right. I'll tell you one more piece of the story, and then I'm going to tell you what the book is and how it can apply to you, whether you read it or not. And I recommend you do. I'm going to give you some principles in a moment that come from the book that you can apply in your life now, today. So as I continued reading the book, I thought, wow, right. I'm going to, I want to work with this guy. I hope he's still taking clients. I also thought, I'm going to reach out to him because, man, there's so many synchronicities and ways that we overlap. I feel this kinship. And I thought, well, I'll wait until I finish the book before I reach out. So synchronicities continue. The inspiration continues. I finished reading the book on the night of August 8th, which is a date that I remember almost as strongly as September 11, 2011. Why? Because that's the night that, and I'm talking about 2023, August 8th, that's the night that the fires started here on Maui. And at that point, that night, I started hearing from people, from friends and colleagues, some people are getting evacuated. Whoa, this might be serious. I finished reading the book that night. So I sent an email to Steve. I also found, there's a Facebook group, which I encourage you to check out and join. It's called the Ultimate Coach Facebook group. Personally, I'm not typically that into Facebook. Like, I do my best to serve there and engage because it's great for business and I can help people that way. But I don't really like do a lot of surfing or checking things out. However, because I'd already gotten so much weird synchronistic value from the book myself, I'm like, I'll check out the group. So checked out the group. I was like, wow, this is cool. Something going on here. I like it. I made a post. Hey, y'all, I'm Daniel Maui. And blah. Next morning, 3 things. I wake up, find out about the devastation on Maui. Serious, serious life-changing stuff. I see there was an email back from Steve, really kind email. And I had not expected necessarily to even get one, or certainly not that quickly. And a whole bunch of nice comments to my post in the Facebook group. And an interesting one, someone said particularly, this is the most sacred space you'll ever find. I was like, what? Facebook sacred? Huh. It's continued to feel that way. And for me personally, from that moment, those 3 things happened the morning of August 9th. The feeling has been like I was atop a snowy mountain and I got on a toboggan and we've been, so many powerful upgrades and changes have happened in my life since then. Now, so that's how I got to it. How I get to this conversation and my work is well represented by this tarot card image. Now, I love esoteric stuff. I love spiritual stuff, and I am super practical and grounded. However, and what the magician card represents is you and me as infinitely powerful spiritual human beings. And the idea and the imagery here is that we, all of us, have the capacity to tune in to the divine, to energy, to spirit, And from that tuning in, what some people call the realm of thoughts or the divine matrix or the quantum realm, we have the capacity to tune in and create, or if you prefer, manifest anything here on the physical earthly plane, right? That is our divine power. That's the power that we all are learning to embrace and create in our lives. Now, part of what the book of being, part of what Steve Hardison has been about, and part of what I've understood in my head for a really long time, though I pause to encourage you as I remind myself that in order for us to create our most vibrant, thriving life, one thing we never want to do is ikta. IKTA. What does that mean? IKTA stands for I already know that. I already know that. That's the danger that we all face, especially, I'm assuming that you, if you're here now, you're a little bit like me in the level that you love to learn, you love to grow, right? You probably invest in courses and trainings and events to help yourself become your best self, right? I do that. I counted it up a few years ago, and at that point, I was at, I don't know, $650,000 I'd invested over the years in my personal and spiritual development education. So I've known about being as a concept, as in being, right? What does that mean? Being? Well, the thoughts that we have about ourselves. Put it this way: who we are being is the root of everything in our life, right? And if you plant apple seeds, what are you going to get? Well, you're not going to get pear or orange. You're going to get apples. And in the same way, being, or another way of saying it, is the thoughts that we have about ourselves, about the world, right? That defines who we are. And from that, what we say, what we do, how we see the world, and even how other people see us. So the root, or the highest point upstream, is being. Ralph Waldo Emerson put it this way, and it's one of my favorite quotations that I use a lot when training people as coaches, teachers, or as speakers, as the training is evolving these days. Emerson said this: who you are speaks so loudly, nobody hears what you say. I paraphrase a little bit, but here's the essence. Who you are speaks so loudly, nobody hears a word you say, which points to the truth that we do well to focus on the root of us, the center of us, the core of us, our being. Another way of expressing it is that our thoughts and emotions produce that. That's another way of saying what our being is, our state of being, right? So when it comes to creation, creating stuff in the world, like that magician card, which is what you, me, and all of us on some level are doing here in Earth School on this planet in our lives. We are predestined to desire things and to create things. We want to. That's natural. Why? Because we are spiritual beings who are discovering who we are. We are the divine spark realizing ourself in this 3D world. What we are realizing is our infinity, that we are capable of anything, that we are everything. So we are, by definition, creators, right? And as we just spoke about, related to being, who we are, ourself, the thoughts about ourself, our thoughts and feeling, our state, it's core, it's primary, it's the highest leverage of anything we can do, right? So put it this way. Now, I want to build a new house, just an example. I don't actually at the moment. I want to build a new house. I can, right, go to the hardware store and buy a bunch of supplies and find land, and I could start doing all those things, right? And maybe I would, and maybe that's useful. And core principle here is before I do all that, much better if I focus on who am I being? Because if my thoughts about myself bring me to the conclusion that I am not capable of building a house, well, it doesn't probably matter how many tools I have, how many nails, whatever. I'm not going to have a lot of luck at building a house because at my core, I don't believe that I am that. Yeah, and beliefs can apply in here well. So, actually, let me give you a pause here and say if this is resonating with you and you want to go further with this, I also created a video recently and it's on YouTube. And let me put the URL in here for you. It's in the comments, or you can just go to my YouTube channel and if you search Daniel Aaron Coach or Daniel Aaron Spiritual, you will find this video under some of the most recent ones. And in this video, I share more about how this process works with a demonstration of my own self-creation process. Right now, what else is relevant and important for you here? Central concept from the book, from Steve's work, and something that's been core to me for a long time. However, I also found out that actually I could go deeper with that, much deeper. And part of what the concept is what Steve calls the document. And the way he puts it, right? And of course, this is a reference to the document that is the Declaration of Independence. A document, a set of ideas. We all have a document, right? And we have beliefs about ourselves. I am beautiful. I am ugly. One that I carried for a long time is I am fat, right? We have beliefs about ourselves. We say things like, I am wonderful. I am weak. I am strong. I am generous. I am rich. I am poor. And none of these things are necessarily true. However, as Henry Ford put it well, if you believe you can do something or you believe you can't, in either case, you are right. Same principle applies here. And its general underlying important essential thing to know is we are everything, so we can be anything. Now, the document, a set of declarations, a set of ideas about who we are. Good news, bad news here. Bad news. You have one. You've got a document. Whether you have written it out, right, whether you're aware of it or not, you have one. That's also good news. We'll get there in a second. See, the thing is, everybody has a set of ideas about who they are. For most people, however, it's not conscious. You can detect it and you tune up your awareness from this. You'll notice as you move forward, people in your life, right? They say things like, I am. Even related to that, people say things like, the world is, it's like this. And yeah, these are beliefs, ideas about who we are, about how the world is. And because of the essential nature of humanity, of who we are, we're always needing to prove that out. Another way of saying it, deep, deep, deep psychological principle. So powerful is the human need to verify and align with what we believe about our identity. So as you are going deeper, right, because you're not falling for that, I already know that. Us as masters growing into mastery, we don't go for ikta, I already know that. We go instead for how can I learn that more? How can I deepen my understanding of that? How can I apply that principle more in my own life? Are you with me? Is this making sense? So I've covered a bunch already about this core principle of being. So I pause for a moment. I will take a sip of water and turn it over to you. I ask you for a moment, if you are there and you're interested, how is this resonating for you? Does it make sense? What sense do you make of this concept of being? Feel free to type your comment or question in. Now, given that there has not been a comment come in, I proceed forward, assuming, hoping that you've got some decent understanding of what being is. Another way we could call it is our identity. And our identity is what we believe. What we believe about ourselves becomes our identity, self reinforcing. Or another way of saying it is it's our vibration or our frequency. So let's move on with this here. The bad news, in a way, is that we all have one. We have a set of beliefs about ourselves. For most people, again, it's not written down, it's not conscious. The good news, though, is now you are becoming more empowered. And if you understand this, you will start to apply it in a new way. You'll say, "Ooh, Daddy, I am curious to find out more of who I am. Who do I think I am? Who do I say I am?" Right? And say in our own head or say out loud. Because as you become more aware of it, then you get the power to change it, to consciously create your document, to write it out and say, "This is who I am." Right? Now, before I share more with you about how to do that and the value and power of that, let's get to this key point. And it's well illustrated by what Steve says about this master of metaphor that he is. If you create yourself via your document, your declaration, your set of statements, I have my friend Kellen calls it his PTAC, personal truth and commitment. I call it my sacred self sacrament, right? My sacred self declaration. The sacrament is the process I have for reminding myself who I am and for creating myself, for activating that document. So, incredible power we all have to create ourselves, thereby affecting the world around us, right? This is that magician magic. And if we don't do something, I'll say first, it's not exactly linear, but first, meaning usually it kind of comes before the self creation is preceded by a foundation of trust in ourself, integrity, wholeness, which is undermined by poop. What do I mean by that? If we believe about ourselves, I suck, I'm lame, I'm fat, I'm no good, I'm not worthy, right? And let's be honest, we've all had thoughts like this, feelings like this to some degree or other. It's only a question of degree. So if we have not resolved, healed, forgiven those self-deprecating or self-limiting belief statements, ideas, then creating ourselves via the document is like putting frosting on poop. Putting frosting on poop. So the poop is that smelly thing underneath, which is, I'm no good, I'm not worthy, right? And that's just part of the human condition. No problem with that. What is a problem? Is it a problem? It's a limitation if we don't resolve that. And I won't go into depth about that right now. We could call that process, though, compassionate self-forgiveness. And this was a core part of Steve's education that was activated at the University of Santa Monica, the master's degree in, what do they call it, spiritual education, master's in spiritual studies, something like that. Ron and Mary Holnick, big educators and proponents of compassionate self-forgiveness. Really, really valuable and important. And while I won't go into depth about that now, if you'd like more information about that or this in general, send me an email, daniel@danielaaron.com, or drop a comment in here and I'll respond to you. Right? So if, on the other hand, we do engage in compassionate self-forgiveness, right? We heal, integrate, love those parts that are like the quicksand, the foundation limitation. If we heal that, then we develop this incredible power to be able to create ourselves. We establish a foundation, right? So we go beyond putting frosting on poop through the act of self-forgiveness. Then we activate the possibility, the power, incredible power, superpower of creating self. You know the word abracadabra, right? The word means, what does it mean? I love this. I love this. I love this. I've loved words. I quote some of my heroes all the time, every day. And this one we all know from magic tricks. The magician says abracadabra. What else do magicians often do? They say certain words. The word, from its origin, it means I create from speaking, or through my words, I create. So that points to the power of what we're doing. And worth mentioning this, every document or every well-established document, one that's useful, right? Declaration, PTAC, right? Sacred self sacrament or declaration, right? If we do that in a conscious way, and again, give you my fullest encouragement, it's so valuable to do. The most valuable high leverage activity there is defining ourselves. There are two components to it. And I think I'll make this the last little piece to give you for now. Two components to a good document. One is we affirm basic truths, right? Basic truths. Like one, and there's a whole story I won't tell you right now about how this statement became part of mine, right? Because I'm going to tell you the statement. It's not language that I typically use, right? I didn't grow up in a religious context. Religious words are not necessarily often part of my vocabulary. The phrase that came to me in various ways several times is I am, right? And I am is a foundational important part of this, because whatever follows that is affirming, creating actually who we are, our identity, our self, right? So I am perfect as God created me. Right? I am perfect as God created me. A divine gift whose life and purpose is service to all. Right? Now, that statement, it's just inherently true, right? I am perfect. You are perfect. That's our nature. Now, don't get me wrong. I forget that sometimes. I think that there's this problem, and there are many aspects of my behavior that are unconscious. I make mistakes every day, frequently. It's not to say that I'm incapable of growth, though there isn't room to grow. In fact, I live in a beautiful house here on Maui. The biggest room in it is the room to grow. However, a basic fundamental truth, because we are spirit, we are infinity, we are love, that's our nature, we are all perfect, right? So that is category one. It's just inherently true, right? And there are other things that are inherently true about who we are. On the flip side, there are other statements, declarations, I am statements that are part of any good, and by good, I mean effective, document that are what we could call aspirational, meaning these are statements about who I am creating myself to be, not necessarily who I am at this moment or what is my experience of myself. For instance, right, there's a statement in my document that says, I am the greatest transformational entertainer in the world, right? That's something that I am creating, right? Because one, this concept of transformational entertainer, it's new for a lot of people. And while I have been entertaining and facilitating transformation for 3 decades now, there are certainly others who have commanded bigger stages and have been more effective in their version of transformational entertainment. So, on one level, it's not true. I'm not the greatest transformational entertainer in the world. On another level, it is true because I am becoming that. I am creating myself into that. I have that image, that vibration, and through my speaking, abracadabra, I am becoming that. So when I say best in the world, that's not to compare myself. It's to raise me up to the highest expression of myself. It's to set my intention. It's to set the standards to raise me up, right? Not a comparison. And what I say in creation, that's what I mean. I may not be that yet fully in experience. However, I am creating that. That's why it's an important part of my document. So, as I come to a conclusion here, y'all, I leave you with this thought. Words have power. They are so important because they code and create our view of the world, our experience of the world. They lead to our emotions. You probably know about something called NLP, stands for neuro linguistic programming. Neuro, meaning, right, neurology, right? Linguistic, meaning related to words. Programming points to an essential truth, which is what we say in our heads and out loud tends to program us on a brain chemistry level to become, right? Another definition for NLP, neuro linguistic program, is the study of success, the study of what do successful people do. And it goes back to that magician. NLP is about creating ourself, creating in the world by the specific use of language, linguistic patterns. So, all that is to say, if you, like me, are interested in, and maybe more than interested, committed to making your life a masterpiece, or what I call the art of vibrant living, right? You want to raise up to your highest potential to live the best possible life you can, right? For yourself and for the world, to be a light in the world. The most important spiritual technology, the most essential thing you can do is invest into this document idea, this self creation. So I hope, y'all, that that makes some sense. And either way, to whatever degree you got it, if I can be of assistance to you with it, I'm all in, right? This has been, for me, one of the most powerful next steps in my own evolutionary process. It's allowed me to consolidate and advance many things that I've sort of known, been working on, yet to take them to a next level. It's already become a very important part of my work with all of my clients. Because what do I do as a coach? What does any good coach do? We help our clients to get the results they want, to solve the problems, to become the best version of themselves, and to do it in the most effective way possible. So again, self-creation in the way I've been talking about here is going to the top, right? To the source. Everything else is downstream from there. All right. So again, y'all, thank you for tuning in. If this was interesting, useful, let me know. You can email me or drop a comment. My email address is daniel@danielaaron.com. I'll put it in the chat. Yeah, is it the chat? Not the chat. What's that called? In the comments section, right? And in the comments also is the link to the YouTube video where not only do I explain some other aspects of this same topic, I also give a demonstration of me and my set of declarations, which you can tune into if you would like to, just as an example. Yours won't be mine, mine won't be yours, right? It's about creating your unique destiny. All right, y'all, stay tuned. I am in the mood for, in the creation of more lives like this. I also have a show coming up tomorrow, an amazing show with Olga. So, y'all, thank you so much for tuning in. Thanks for being interested and committed to your vibrant life. And until I see you again, please make your life a masterpiece. Aloha. See you soon. Baboon.